morning, Ryan.
Morning.
Thank you for joining us today. This is
you.
Ryan, president at PSR. He's basically responsible for anything pre-construction as well as new developments that take place and that they're responsible for as a brokerage. Today we want to talk about Galleria On the Park. It's a very exciting project coming to market, I believe, September.
Yep.
A lot of our clients are very excited about it. We got a lot of interest. We got a lot of people lining up, wanting more information. Thankfully, you guys have been kind enough to provide us information as we go along. Today we want to ask you a few questions where we were asked by our clients. So they'd like to know the answers, as well as kind of pick your brain as far as what the project is, what it entails, the neighborhood, and everything else.
Sure.
For starters, I'd like to know, for those that aren't familiar with master planned communities, because this is a very large-scale project, can you give us a rundown of what a master planned community is, what it consists of, how is it different from a singular building?
Absolutely. So that's a great question to begin with. I think that a master planned community is, as stated in its name, it's master planned. So it's taken the sum of various parts and putting them all together to create a new community with the proper infrastructure to support the residences, create a destination in the city if possible, make it something that the entire area enjoys versus just the residents. And when you really think the community through, you want to incorporate elements like retail, public areas, public facilities, and when you take a step back from it all and conceptualize it, you want to make sure that all of these different elements live together harmoniously. That is, to me, what a master plan community is.
Got it. What is Elad, the developer, doing in this case in terms of building something for the community on the site?
So as far as the public realm of this specific master plan community, I'd say that it's quite extensive. There's a brand new community center that will be built on site. It'll be 95,000 square feet, making it one of the largest community centers in the Greater Toronto area. It will include state-of-the-art programming, including swimming pools, fitness facilities, classrooms, studios, even a daycare, because there are many young families that are now kind of transitioning into this neighborhood, and we want to make sure that there's adequate care for the children that are coming to the neighborhood as well. There's also an additional public realm as far as what the city as a whole can enjoy, which is an 8-acre park. The 8-acre park is such a rare amenity in downtown Toronto. Very few projects in the city have the ability to create that kind of brand new green space. And Elad, working with the city and the various stakeholders, especially the community, had appropriated 8 acres to the park alone, which is incredibly significant.
Which will be enjoyed by pretty much the neighborhood, not just people buying into Galleria On the Park.
Right, I actually think it will be Galleria as a whole, with the community center and with the park, will actually be a citywide destination, not only a neighborhood destination.
Got it. Awesome. Can you tell us how the project will be built in its distinctive phases? Because there are many phases. Are they going to build the whole project at once? Are they going to build 2 buildings at a time? How's that going to play out?
Great question. So there's a few pieces at play here. The master plan includes 8 residential buildings, and the first 2 buildings will be launched and ideally constructed together. They would be the west side of the property, the 2 buildings along the west side of the property, and the intention is also to build a community center at the same time, which is also along the west side of the property. Once that phase is complete, the focus will then shift to the east side of the property, right in the corner of Dufferin and DuPont. That would be the 3rd building to come out, and then slowly the community will get filled in from east to west.
Got it. So phase 1 of development will most likely include buildings 1 and 2, as well as the community center that they're building for the neighborhood.
Exactly.
Got it. Thank you. Why was this development and architecture team selected for this parcel of land?
So Hariri Pontarini were selected to be the master plan community architects, and we've incorporated core architects to specifically design the first and second building, so call it the first phase. We wanted to create a bit of a variety between the architectural, the developers didn't want a single architect to do the entire community. So as the phases go on, we want to challenge the architects to make sure that the buildings are aesthetically appealing, they fit the neighborhood, they fit the characteristic of the neighborhood. And when you bring to the table a few different creative minds, you'll be surprised. The results are pretty remarkable because everyone is challenged to do a little bit better and find that balance between what's existing in the community there and the evolution of Galleria On the Park going forward.
Understood. Let's talk a little bit about location. What are the advantages of living at Dufferin and Dupont? Why did Elad, such a great developer, select this parcel of land as opposed to other available parcels that could very well be purchased by them?
Yeah, so I think that Galleria presents a really unique opportunity in the city. The Dupont West Strip as a whole has been very underdeveloped when you look at geographically its location, right? It's a downtown location. Granted, it's not right in the core, but it's the first ring right around the core. And I think it's a location that presents a lot of value. We're seeing pre-construction condos in the core properly, in the core proper, hit price points that many people can no longer afford. And in my mind, developers are constantly challenged by affordability because of the various elements that go into development and construction costs and development costs that are on the rise. So when you have the ability to create something of meaningful scale so close to the downtown core, you know, we're 10 minutes away from U of T. So when you have the opportunity to create such meaningful scale so close to the core, you have to take it. And Elad and Fried, who had owned the site originally, came together and understood that there is a community to be created here. The community itself is already a very well-established community of second, third generation, Canadians. And creating density now here will really turn the entire Dupont West Strip around. And you see it already happening because many other developers are going quietly into the Dupont West community and starting to acquire land, and that's typically a sign that a community is about to transform.
True. Funny enough, I had a client who did purchase just west of there. About 5-6 years ago, they bought the place and they described it as up and coming, and that's how we described it, and they made jokes about it. They bought a unit that was a one-bedroom, about 550 square feet. They paid about $220,000 for it. Right. Today, the unit's tenanted. They're making about $600 in positive cash flow a month after paying all expenses, and today that unit's valued at about double the price, right, if not more.
Yep.
Thank you for that. Next question is, what are some of the advantages purchasing in the first phase of the development? I understand the development has many phases, but pre-construction works a certain way for many different reasons. What would be our buyer's advantage to get in at the first phase?
So, ultimately, when you kind of strip away all the parts, even end users are ultimately investors, right? Even if you buy a home for yourself, for your family, you still want the value of the asset to appreciate. If you're an investor, of course, that's your primary objective. So buying into a master plan community really puts you in a position of a much higher likelihood of seeing that asset appreciate faster at a pace that outperforms the general market conditions. When you purchase in a standalone building, and we've looked into that extensively and the data supports this, when you purchase in a standalone building, it just does not perform over time as well as a master plan community does. And the reason for that, there's a few, but in my opinion, the primary reason for that is when you purchase in a standalone building, the neighborhood is the neighborhood, and that building alone has very little influence on how the neighborhood evolves. When you purchase in a master plan community, you're purchasing an asset that is surrounded by tens and sometimes hundreds of millions of dollars of infrastructure investment. So it only makes sense that that asset would be valued significantly higher than a competing asset that stands alone, because all of a sudden you have a brand new community center, or you have a brand new park, or you have 300,000 square feet of retail that's coming to Galleria. So all of those external elements that are happening right at the bottom of your building have a positive impact on the value of your property. And that's why we're constantly seeing buyers that put their money in master plan communities seeing significantly higher returns than those that focus on single
standalone buildings. Okay, thank you for that. Ryan, can you tell me a little bit about what kind of amenities are going to be in the first 2 buildings in terms of gym, recreation room, and whatever that residents will have access to and will be able to use and benefit from?
Absolutely. So when the developers conceptualized the first phase, it was important to understand that even though the community amenities are really truly world-class between the retail, the park, and the community center, it was also important for us to have neighbors really come together within their own buildings and create small communities of their own within their own buildings. And in our opinion, the way to create that is by having a broad set of amenities where neighbors within a building have a chance to interact with each other. So we've created outdoor spaces, outdoor gardens, there's an outdoor swimming pool with outdoor lounges, there's fitness facilities, there's games room that includes billiards and foosball tables, there's a chef's kitchen and a party room, as well as children's club and a playroom. So we've really tried to create a very wholesome set of amenities that covers all the various aspects and the needs of those that inhabit the building itself.
Got it. Thank you for that. My next question is the developer, Elad. Could you tell me a little bit about Elad? We've been working with them for a very long time. We've been very happy with their sales process, their construction process, how they deliver things on time, and ultimately their closing experience. So the entire experience has so far been very good for us, but I'd like to hear from you a little bit more about the developers since you work hand in hand with them every day.
Definitely. So when you talk about Elad, I think many Torontonians don't really know the scale of Elad. Elad is a multinational company. They have offices in Israel, in Florida, in New York, and in Toronto. Their market value is nearly $2 billion. So this is actually, even though many people don't recognize the brand currently, it's one of the largest developers and most well-heeled developers in the GTA. They're so large, in fact, that you would rarely see them do or develop a single building. They would do that on the off occasion, but because of their scale, they really like to focus on master plan communities. They've done Emerald City in North York, which has been tremendously successful across from Fairview Village. Investors there and buyers there have seen incredible returns, and the units come in with particular attention to detail, which is something that Elad is really passionate about as well.
I think Elad was one of the first ones that actually came up with the 1+ flex concept with their Emerald City, and the flex being a second bedroom. I remember that was the most popular unit. A lot of our clients who purchased that Emerald City, they've thanked us a few times over and over again. They like living there, they like the convenience of the location that they selected, as well as they like their investment value and what they saw happen with their money ultimately.
Yeah. But just like in every aspect of life, when you do something, you draw conclusions from it, you draw lessons, and then when you have the opportunity to do it again, you can now improve on it. So Emerald City, as great as it was, wasn't perfect. It's tough to create a perfect master plan community, and it's very tough to please everyone as well. But there were many lessons and opportunities to improve from that. So now Elad has actually taken all of those lessons and applying them into Galleria. And in the meantime, they've already gone ahead and acquired another development opportunity in North York for an additional master plan community that they'll be launching likely in the next 18 months.
That the American Express site just to the east of Consumers Road on Shepherd?
Right.
That's a very, very, very large parcel of land.
It's a great parcel of land, just about 1.6, 1.7 million square feet. So really Elad is focused on creating communities, and when you're doing that, you're carrying a lot of responsibility on your shoulders because you're really creating homes and a destination in the city for people who live in that pocket and for people who work in that pocket. So there's a lot of responsibility in that, and Elad thrives on that challenge. And after Emerald City, Galleria is next, and Lansing Square would follow as well.
Okay, beautiful. My next question for you is, we've been getting this question a lot from a lot of our clients and interested parties. Is this project zoned?
Yeah. Wow, that's a good one. I guess now things have changed in the last couple of years.
Just a little bit, yes.
And you're getting asked, I think, two questions that you've never been asked before. One of which is the project zoned. We're happy to announce that the project is fully zoned, so there's no risk on that end there. The second question that you're probably getting asked a lot is, tell us about the developer. So we spoke about Alad, and I think that's just buyers being diligent and smart, because I know you own some investment properties, I do as well, many of your clients do as well and have done well. It's like when your clients are looking to rent their apartment and they have a potential tenant in sight, they take a rental application and they check their references. That same logic applies when you're trying to buy condos. You're trying to get the developer's references, and I think that anyone that looks at Alad's background would be quite satisfied with what their track record is.
Agreed, 100%. Ryan, my next question is, how will this master plan community change the condominium market in that immediate area, and how would you rate this development in terms of transit, walkability, subway transit accessibility, and everything else that the residents will need to live a comfortable life?
That's great. There's a lot in that question. I will talk about how this community will help this area of the city evolve. But what's interesting is whenever there's an opportunity to develop, before you see the cranes, before you see the construction, before buildings go out for sale, there's something that happens below the surface. And what that is many developers identify the potential development opportunities within that pocket, right? We've seen it in Yorkville in the 70s. We've seen it at King West, where Frida's been involved actively. We've seen it at Liberty Village and in every pocket that's been significantly developed in the last 20 or 30 years. At some point, there was nothing there.
Yep.
And so many developers, when they start going into a neighborhood and start acquiring land very, very quietly, that's typically a telltale sign that this neighborhood is about to transform. So now along the DuPont West Strip, you're seeing that happening today, right? You're having, Tridel, one of the largest Canadian developers, with a successful track record, developing on the Strip. RioCan, one of Canada's largest REITs, developing on the Strip. There's a couple of other developers that own land on the Strip as well, but nothing of significant scale. Galleria, the first phase particularly, will not only be the first phase of the evolution of the DuPont West Strip, it will actually, or the Galleria Master Plan community, it will be the first step of the true evolution of the entire Strip. And I think that is a significant indicator to talk about how this neighborhood will continue to evolve from this point on.
Got it.
From a transit perspective, you're incredibly well positioned already, right? You're close to the subway.
You're just north of the Bloor line, basically.
You're just north of the Bloor line. You're just west of the Spadina and Yonge line. So the Spadina and Yonge line is the line that goes up to Vaughan, down to Union, and up to Finch Station. You're on the Dufferin bus as well, and the DuPont bus as well. You're close to the Up Express that goes from Union to Pearson all day. So your transit options are abundant, and all of that infrastructure, all of that transit infrastructure is there today. So it's not like you're buying today and you're waiting for that transit infrastructure to fill in over time. The day you move in, you can hop on a bus, you can hop on a subway, and you could get to Yonge and Bloor in 10 or 15 minutes, you could get to UFT in 10 or 15 minutes, you could get to Union Station or to Yorkdale Mall or to Pearson Airport, and you're that well connected in this location.
Got you. Thank you for that, Ryan. My next question to you is, Building 1, a lot of people are interested to know how many floors it's going to be, what are the unit mixes, is there going to be a lot of 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, 1+1s, as well as amenities we spoke about, occupancy date for Building 1, what would our buyers be looking at?
So currently the target date, and we're just looking for confirmation from the developers, but we're looking to have the buildings occupy in 2024.
Okay.
They'll start construction sometime in the second quarter of next year, so construction will follow sales pretty quickly. And by that time, we'll already be under construction on the east side of the community as well. And the intention is to complete all construction and have all the buildings fully occupied within 10 or 11 years.
So the whole master plan community will basically, hopefully be complete within 10 or 11 years.
That's the intention.
Amazing. Ryan, lastly, if you were a purchaser, which I believe you will be in this project, as I buy in every project I believe in, I buy in every project I sell, and as of the last couple of years, we haven't really sold anything that we don't believe in. As we said, everybody learns from their previous projects, experiences, and what have you. Hence, we are here today promoting a project that has a great builder behind it and a great marketing company, which you're heading. What would be your top 5 reasons, or what would be your top 3 reasons that would make Galleria on the Park a AAA investment?
So we touched earlier briefly on the challenges of buying real estate in Toronto, specifically pre-construction as well, in Toronto today, right? Price points have reached a level where buyers have to take a step back and really understand if it makes sense, if they can afford it, if they can qualify for a mortgage when it comes time to close. All of these considerations are taken into account when determining whether a buyer purchases a unit or not. I think that the value proposition at Galleria is incredibly high because of the price point that the first phase would launch at. We're looking to make Galleria a smashing success because we truly believe that the first phase really sets the tone for the rest of the community. As far as the specific reasons to buy into, I think that you're buying into geographically a great location that has yet to be developed. And when you have an opportunity to come into that location and be a part of a master plan community where the development happens a lot quicker than it would normally, where infrastructure happens a lot quicker than it would normally, the upside potential of your investment is significantly higher, and you are actually able to see the benefits of those returns significantly sooner. So between the location, the strong rental market, all of the infrastructure that comes into play, our location in relation to transit, I think Galleria makes a lot of sense on a lot of different fronts, whether you're an end user or an investor or both. And it just resonates with me personally because I like investing in communities that are on the cusp of change versus communities that are already fully formed and developed.
Agreed. Last question. I lied, that wasn't my last question. When is the big day? When is the launch day, the first launch day? What is day one that I can share floor plans, prices, and perhaps discuss selecting units for our buyers?
So I would say we're targeting middle of September for the launch. And I would just say to your audience, to those who are listening today, if you are interested in learning more about the community, I would encourage you to contact one of our platinum partners. Of course, we have a long-standing relationship with you, which we appreciate and respect and are thankful for. And so I would encourage anyone that's watching this video to reach out to you for the answers and the timing and making sure they express their interest early enough, because we are anticipating a pretty high level of interest. And though you never really know how these things go, we want to make sure that those that are close to our inner circle are ready to educate their clients and have all the information
to make their
decision.
Their
clients to make their decision early enough.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Ryan, for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.